Warning, this theme park review of the Lego Movie may contain spoilers. If you do not wish to be spoiled about the Lego Movie, we recommend you watch another episode. Thank you. Hello, I'm SurferClock.
And I'm TAP-G.
And welcome to What's the Attraction?
Where our work is your vacation.
Today we are doing a theme park review on the Lego Movie.
Because we've done just about everything in Central Florida. We've gone to SeaWorld, we've gone to Universal, we've gone to Disney, I think.
But we haven't really had a chance to cover much of Legoland. So we want to take a small step in the right direction by reviewing the one film that I know of. You know, I know there's all that Chima stuff out there and whatnot. But the Lego Movie is the big release. That's what's got everybody talking, and now we're going to talk about it too.
This movie came out back in February of 2014, and it just caught on like crazy. And I think a large part of that was due to the fabulously popular and catchy theme song, Everything is Awesome. But, and I'm sure a lot of you probably had the same ideas that we had. As soon as we saw the first trailer, we're like, is this another Ninjago Clutch Powers Chima thing? But it looked like there was some good humor in it too, so like a lot of you, we decided to go check it out. And although I should say that we were still a little bit scarred from the year before, or 2 years before, when we went to see Battleship.
Battleship was terrible.
So, Toys Turn movies, not very optimistic.
But so, what do we think about the Lego Movie? Well, there's four main categories we're going to talk about before we get into our overall. We're going to talk about the story, we're going to talk about the music, we're going to talk about the characters, and then we're going to talk about the animation, and then we'll give our overall impressions. So, let's start with the story. Where better to start?
Well, here's the thing about the Lego Movie. It's very much this very archetypal
hero's journey,
chosen one, prophecy, however you want to put it. Very much a callback to the whole monomyth thing. It's well done, though.
Yeah, it feels surprisingly fresh, even though you wouldn't think, oh my gosh, we've seen this story 100 times before. Somehow, when you put it into the perspective of Legos and just everything, all the anime, and just the style of the film, I think really helps to do that.
And of course, this is all told from the perspective of a child.
Spoilers!
So, yes, we know that we're going to have to spoil this, but as much as we hate doing spoilers, but we found out we couldn't talk much about this movie unless we talks about the spoilers. So, but it's because it's all told from the perspective of a child, this whole thing becomes so much more bearable and so much better.
Honestly, I think it's being able to see things through new eyes. I mean, eventually, my nephew, we're gonna take him out to the theme parks for the first time. Mm-hmm. We're gonna be able to see. I'm gonna be able to see everything through new eyes with him and be able to discover all these things. I think this is kind of the same principle you can apply to a film like this that uses an archetypal story like this.
Mm-hmm. One of the when I kept wondering why this felt so new and felt so fresh. And of course, when you think back to any sort of hero's journey stories, like two of the best known examples are Harry Potter and Star Wars. For example, like the Special. Emmett, the main character in this movie, is called the Special. That sounds like something a kid would make up.
Yeah.
Not the boy who lived,
or the chosen one,
or or whatever. That's one of the reasons why it feels fresh. The other thing is that Emmett has no skills. At least with Harry Potter, he's a wizard, and Luke, he's a Jedi. Emmett has no special qualities to him.
I feel like he does have one special quality, but it's the quality that any builder has, and that's to follow the instructions.
Yeah.
But he almost has to unlearn that in order to fulfill the prophecy.
Well, it was the power to follow the instructions and to be unimaginative that was the power, which was its own twist ending in its own sense, and that just made it all the more endearing. And then, of course, there's the whole prophecy bit, where you watch Chronicles of Narnia or Tim Burton's Alice in Wonderland, where it's the prophecy that is to be fulfilled, and the hero will say, no, but I'm unworthy, someone's gonna do it, I can't do it. But it happens. And it's taken with so much gravitas and seriousness, and here, it's made up.
It literally is made up.
And even though the characters do take it seriously, you can't help but laughing at it the moment Vitruvius says, all of this is true because it rhymes.
Yeah. And that happens right at the beginning of the film, too.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, it almost... It takes some of the gravitas off of it, but at the same time, you still feel that because you want to believe.
There's a lot of tropes and a lot of satire to this movie, but because they take all these conventions, and there's not a lot of negativity, and there's not a lot of, there's not even a whole lot of worldliness to it, so it's not like most satire where they say, oh, this whole thing, we've done this millions of times before. It feels so fresh and new because they're so centered on this whole story.
Not only that, but they're not deliberately trying to say, "Oh, we've done this before."
Yeah, it's hard to describe, but it doesn't have that worldliness to it that makes it feel tired and old hat. It just has a lot of fresh perspective to it.
I have to say, I also like how they brought the ending together. Because you go through this whole story, you sense that there's something just a little bit off about it, that you would think, okay, a normal director would not have Foley of this kind. A normal film wouldn't do this. A normal film wouldn't do that. Then when you see who is really at the helm of things, the young child telling the entire story, that changes everything.
Yeah.
And, you know, you sort of feel the optimism. And it makes everything make sense.
Everything right down to all the tropes that are being used in the film, which just make it almost magically okay.
Yeah. And when we talk about the music next, you know, everything is awesome. That's the optimism of a child right there.
Yeah. Right down to even some of the characters' dialogue, which is very, it seems geared toward Gen Xers and millennials.
Yeah, kind of funny if you think about it.
Yeah, right?
But still, I want to go ahead and give the story on this a 4 out of 5.
I give this a 4.5 out of 5.
So, that's a 4.5 out of 5 on story from TAP-G, and a 4 out of 5 on story from SurferClock. Let's talk about the music, shall we?
Do we have to?
Yes.
Because I think everyone knows the song from the Lego movie. Everything is awesome by Tegan and Sara and The Lonely Island.
Wow, this song, I mean, when you heard it in the trailer, TAP-G and I had an idea, oh, that's going to be catchy as all get out, but...
Probably worse than Let It Go.
Yeah, but we had no idea that it was going to catch on as much as it did.
Yeah.
We could not have predicted that not only would this film have actually been good, but, like... exceed and blow our expectations out of the water.
Not to mention, we're the kind of people, we don't even like this kind of dubstep, obnoxious club music. But then you hear, of course, Everything is Awesome, which alone just sounds like this mindlessly empty phrase, and then just keeps on doing this pulse-pounding beat. You're waiting for it to just be completely stupid. And you listen to some lyrics, yeah, it is kind of that way, but then there's a lot... there seems to be something really deep about this than at first glance. Like, at first, Everything is Awesome. You first hear it when Emma is driving through the city going to work, and it's the embodiment of conformism. It's the embodiment of routine, going along with everyone. A very socialist ideal.
Yeah.
So it's, everyone is the same. What is the song?
Everything is cool when you're part of a team. Everything is awesome when you're living our dream.
We're the same. I'm like you. You're like me. We're all living in harmony. So there's that going. But then it takes on a whole different meaning towards the end of the movie. Now, it could have very easily been done by changing the key and then slowing it down and then making it the message. But the way I look at it, it becomes its own message. Because now that the father has come to terms with what his son has been feeling, and they hug each other, and it becomes very sweet, suddenly you realize that everything is awesome, everything is cool when you're part of their team, everything is awesome when you're living our dream, when you're working together.
Yeah. It's such a multifaceted song, and it's really quite fascinating.
And I think that's one of the reasons why this is stuck around. I think it's probably not going to be as long-lived as Let It Go, but I don't know why it hasn't gotten to be as annoying yet.
Yeah, you would think by now, but I think everyone's just so enthused by the 4-part melody. It's overtaken music of this day.
And just be enthralled with its happy-go-lucky message.
Yeah, it's almost like that song Happy that was in Despicable Me 2. Like, it's irresistibly catchy. Mm-hmm. But it's not as irresistibly catchy as, say, Let It Go or Happy. Mm-hmm. Which is why Everything Is Awesome kind of stands in a league of its own.
Yeah.
And then there was that other song.
The Untitled Self-Portrait, and not kidding, folks, that's what it's called on the soundtrack. That is the song that Batman wrote to Wild Style. If you have a chance to check out the music video, which is on the Blu-ray, it's hilarious. It's really stupid. It's really dumb, because all it is just thrashing heavy metal music, and you hear things like darkness, orphan, no parents, and then my favorite part, super rich, kind of makes it better.
Yeah, it's just this weird, it's this inane Batman anthem, but it works, strangely enough.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can't help the feeling that Will Arnett was just having an absolute blast just doing this. Be like, okay, man, you're Batman, you think you are the best thing since sliced bread, and you're going to do a self-portrait song.
Yeah, and just the look on his face when he must have been like, alright, let's do this thing. I wrote this song.
It's only 12 words long, but I think it's gonna rock!
And it just has that childlike enthusiasm.
I mean, the only thing it's missing is, because I'm Batman!
Yeah. And that, I mean, we'll get to that more when we get to characters.
Yeah.
But Batman's character was just, it was perfect for the song.
And the score, the score did a great job. Yep. I don't really recall any special moments that it stood out, but for me, doing the score is a lot like being a dishwasher. You're supposed to not notice just how good it is. If you do notice it, that means you've done something wrong. But
unless you're trying to get it to stand out for some reason.
Or unless you're John Williams, then all bets are off.
Pretty much. So yeah, the music, I really have no problem with the music. It's pretty good.
Yeah. 4 out of 5 for me.
If not a little annoyingly catchy. Yeah, so I'll go ahead and give it a 4 out of 5 as well. So that's a 4 out of 5 on music from both SurferClock and TAP-G. Let's talk characters. This film had a lot of them. And normally an inflated cast is going to wreck your film.
Or just spiral out of control, unless you're Joss Whedon or something.
Yeah.
The thing about it is that I've always been the kind of person that I don't care what the story in a movie is. If you tell it with good characters, you can save a bad story. Not necessarily the other way around. And did this movie deliver in spades.
Not only does it have quite the list of cameos, just name a few off the top of your head.
Let's see. Michelangelo, Milhouse, Wonder Woman, Shaquille O'Neal, Dumbledore, Gandalf, Superman, Green Lantern. How about 4 guys from Star Wars, including Anthony Daniels reprising his role as C-3PO?
Let's not forget about Shaq.
Yeah, Shaq
played himself.
Actually, I think probably the best one of all was, if you saw the movie, you saw that Green Lantern was kind of this wannabe, like, hi, Superman, let's hang out, let's be cool. And Superman having that, I have busy things to do on Krypton. And Jonah Hill was the voice of the Green Lantern. Channing Tatum was the voice of Superman. Now, for those of you who haven't watched 21 Jump Street, please do so, because you'll realize these guys have incredible rapport, and they're hilarious as all get out, and that makes it all the more funnier.
Not only that, but the sequel, 22 Jump Street, which I actually haven't seen yet, but
I've been hearing a lot of good things.
Yeah, I haven't seen a bad review yet. Yeah, the cameos are really cool, but let's talk about the main characters and about how they're actually likable and they stay that way.
Like Emmett, for example, he's voiced by Chris Pratt. We'll later see him in Guardians of the Galaxy later this summer. Yeah, it should be awesome. He has this very likable personality. Like, he can say just about anything and just feel very cool. But I think he has this naivete and this he's not very bright, but he becomes this empty vessel for us to slip into in this adventure that just makes him so relatable.
Yeah, that's the important thing. He's an empty vessel. He's not a completely false, bland, blank state like Bella from Twilight.
Ugh.
But he's got just enough there to where we can believe that we are this guy.
Like, we can totally see. One of the things that I thought was interesting was when we were talking about the whole Chosen One thing, is that whenever you see like Harry Potter or Luke Skywalker, they're often very discontent with their way of life. Emmett, on the other hand, loves everything about his conformist life, sees no problem with anything whatsoever.
Well, yeah, the thing is that Emmett lacks pathos. But for a character like Emmett, you don't need pathos. You don't need this emotional thing to get invested into. He's just a guy who likes following the instructions.
Until that one moment where he says, I want to touch the piece of resistance, and then all of a sudden Bad Cop tells him what's going on, then Wild Style tells him what's going on, and then this whole thing is thrust upon him, and he's just like, I don't know what's going on here, but this is kind of fun.
Yeah, he has all the optimism and enthusiasm that you would expect from a child, which later on...
Yeah, but I think it's that optimism that just makes it...
He is so likable.
Exactly.
And we can relate.
Wild Style. A very fun character. I thought this was going to be kind of the stereotypical tough chick, eventual love interest, but she did shine on her own. You know who she reminded me of most?
Who?
Tigress from Kung Fu Panda.
Yes.
She's tough, she doesn't take any crap from anybody, and she kind of has this jealousy issue going on with the Chosen One, feeling like she should be in that position, but she feels kind of gypped out.
Yeah, but we don't spend the entire story bemoaning this fact.
No, not at all. Maybe 3 or 4 seconds worth.
Yeah, there's a little bit of that, but then it very quickly goes away, and there's another love interest there. Will Arnett.
I have a boyfriend, and it's super serious. She has these lines that you wouldn't expect her to say, but they come off so well. Like, we would rather he die than give it to you. Come with me if you want to not die. And after a while... Crocodile, and you're trying hard not to laugh, even though she's saying it with every ounce of seriousness.
Yeah, she may not be quite as likable as Emmett, but she's every bit as important a character, and definitely plays a role in the whole thing.
Then you have Batman.
Well, yes. We have what every child thinks of Batman to be.
I gotta say, when I first saw the trailer and Batman does that joke about, I don't work in orange, I work in black, so that's very, very, very dark gray. I was like, okay, are they just using this character's cameo just to put butts in seats? But I was really surprised that he was actually a relevant character in the story.
And a little fleshed out. I mean, not as fleshed out as Emmett, not as fleshed out as Vitruvius.
Or even Wild Style.
But he does play an important role in just being that other love interest out there. And I think it helps motivate Emmett.
We were talking a little bit earlier about how he is every child's embodiment of Batman that ever existed. He's cool, he's suave, he thinks he's the best thing ever, and he thinks he can take on everything by himself, but, obviously he's there. And I even like the fact that everyone knows his alter ego, Bruce Wayne. Sorry.
Yeah, it's just... He is a cool character, and like we mentioned earlier with that Untitled Self-Portrait song, it's all good, man. It's all so good. And Vitruvius.
Oh. Morgan Freeman deadpan is incredible.
I mean, anyone can do like an impression of Morgan Freeman, and thankfully they actually got him to do it.
Yeah, because I think in the hands of a lesser person, it just would have come off very pretentious.
But we all know Morgan Freeman is pretty much taking on every role he's given these days.
I don't want to say he doesn't sound like he's trying, but he didn't need to. He just says his line with just this frank deadpan that just makes it all the more hilarious, even though he's the old mentor archetype.
All he has to do is be Morgan Freeman, and he can sell a character. And
like Wild Style, he says the lines you would expect him to say, but there's a twist to it. I think my favorite is, Emmett, you didn't let me finish because I died.
Yeah, it's so ridiculous. And again, harkening back to the whole child reveal at the end, that's when you started to kind of... That was one of the points where you got the feeling it's like, something just isn't right about this.
Need we reiterate that Morgan Freeman, for a few seconds, plays a cat poster?
Yes. Well, I don't think we iterated that in the first place, but there it is. Morgan Freeman plays a cat poster.
How about Bad Cop? Again, you don't see this actor, Liam Neeson. We're talking Schindler's List, Liam Neeson.
Like, in all the most serious roles.
Yeah.
And he's playing Bad Cop on Lego Movie. And dude sells it.
He does Bad really Cop, well. He does Good Cop, and he does Pa Cop. And of course, for the first time, I think this is the first time I've ever really heard his Irish accent.
Yeah.
And of course, you need an Irish accent if you're playing a cop. And boy, does he just brings it. He reminds me a lot of Javert from Les Mis. How committed he is going after these characters.
Yeah, and I think I like the character of Good Cop maybe just a little bit better. For what little appearance he makes.
He gets quote unquote erased from the movie very early on, so that makes it all the more sad.
But I like what little appearance, and I love that he picked just this goofy voice. Hi, buddy. Can I get you some water?
Yeah, I think, again, like Morgan Freeman, is just like, guys, I know you're not used to doing this, but just have fun with it and see where this goes.
And they did. They put their all into this. And you can see these are all either main or, very much side characters.
Mm-hmm.
But they're good. It's a lot of characters, and they all have something good to say.
Mm-hmm.
But let's not forget about Lord Business.
I've never been a big fan of Will Ferrell. SurferClock knows this.
Yeah.
And I don't really have anything bad to say. I don't love him.
This is one of his roles where he's not Ferrelling it up.
Thank goodness.
There is something about him in this. He's not doing his usual thing. Because Will Ferrell has this very distinct style of acting in most of what he's in.
Mostly it involves yelling, I've noticed.
Yeah.
But here he does play a... I like the role he played as the father, where he did play very calm, very reserved, but still had kind of a twinkle in his eye like he's about to unleash something awesome. As Lord/President Business, though, he's just kind of your typical straight-up villain that you would imagine him to be. I don't think it's great, I don't think it's wonderful, but it's great. It works for the story that's being told.
Yeah. It's, it's like the villains in this film are really nothing special.
Well, except Bad Cop, but we already talked about that. Then you have some of the other characters from Cloud Cuckoo Land, like Unikitty and Benny and Metalbeard.
Oh, Benny. Benny is probably, of the more inconsequential characters, he's probably my favorite of the more side characters.
I think he's the one character everyone fell in love with and just, but at the same time kind of forgot about him at the same time. All I have to say is spaceship and bam.
Yeah.
Spaceship! Spaceship! I think it's part in two things. Number one, you see that he's been through a lot. I mean, Vitruvius called him 80-something space guy, and he's got the crack in his helmet, he's got fingerprint smudges on him, the logo's faded, but he still has this very upbeat personality. And then, of course, every time someone mentions spaceship, he's at the go, he's ready to build a spaceship, and then, you weren't gonna, you don't need it's okay, you didn't want it anyway.
But when he finally gets his moments, it is one of the best comedic moments of the entire film.
That it is. And
Unikitty's Unikitty to me is an okay character.
I loved her. I really did. I love that sugary sweetness that Alison Brie brought to it, and just enjoyed all the sunshine and sparkles. It kind of reminded me of like the rainbow monkeys from Codename Kids Next Door.
Or what's her name from Phineas and Ferb?
Isabella. Thank you.
Isabella, yes.
Isabella and all that, and just. But of course, deep down, there's this untapped potential. Like, you mess with something, she'll take you down.
Yeah, it was. She had a really good role in the film. I prefer Benny over her when it comes to like just ranking the characters outright.
And then Metalbeard?
I wasn't like, to me, he wasn't a very memorable character.
No, not really. I mean, he was kind of your typical pirate character, and his voice reminded me a lot of Davy Jones from SpongeBob.
Yeah, just not. I mean, I know he had something of a role to play, but like thinking back now, I can't really remember too much about him.
Yeah, I mean, don't sit on a pirate's face. It's like, wait, what?
Yeah.
But still, I mean, all these characters were fantastic. I mean, I love the main characters, and I loved a lot of the side characters, and of course all the cameos. So for me, I give this a 4 out of 5.
Yeah, characters for me is definitely a 4 out of 5. Yep, that's a 4 out of 5 from the both of us. So let's move on to animation.
I don't have a single complaint about animation.
Now, what's funny is I would learn later on, but I did not know until I watched another internet critic talk about how they did the animation for it. At first, I thought it was a mix of stop motion and CGI.
I think a lot of us did and still do.
It was all CGI. None of it was done via stop motion.
Which is quite the feat, if you really think about it. If you can convince us it's another medium, this is what made it really work.
The animation is really cool, and there were definitely some stylistic choices they made that really helped to sell this film.
Right down to the imperfections in the Legos themselves.
Yeah, the imperfections in Legos, how they sometimes looked like they were stop motion.
By dropping the frame rate, yeah.
And, like, the fire and the explosions and the water all being Lego style.
Yeah.
That was so cool. That was, like, the one thing, if I didn't have to remember, like, characters or story or anything else, take all of that out, the water and the fire and everything being Legos, still so cool.
I think if that was taken the time by someone to do stop motion, that would have taken at least a year and a half just to pull off.
Well, this movie did take, I think, about 2 or 3 years to come out.
Yeah.
Like, from conception to development.
Yeah.
It was still quite a lengthy development period.
Mm-hmm.
But just that they've done everything the way that they did was incredible.
Yeah. One of the things that I was trying to figure out what made this so endearing was, I thought this was just going to be the world of Legos and just go along for the ride. And I realized very early on that was not the case. They didn't employ any stretch and squash techniques. They made it look stilted so that when the end of the movie comes and you realize that it's all from the child's perspective, it makes so much more sense.
Yeah, it allows you to see into the child's imagination, and that you would imagine everything as Legos and what a splash would look like if it was a Lego water. And
yeah.
You realize all these stylistic choices were made based upon that one little thread.
And it makes it look all the more cool.
Honestly, I really can't think of anything complaints-wise from the animation either. It's so perfect. 5 out of 5.
Ditto, 5 out of 5.
So, overall, what did we think of the Lego film as a whole? Wow.
One of the best movies of 2014.
It really is. And we did not think much of it when we were seeing the trailers.
Yeah.
But this is one of those films that surprised, I think, just about everybody.
I think this could have very easily been another Ninjago or Clutch Powers or something, but...
This could have been another Battleship. Think about that. This could have been adapted into where live-action characters would go, and... they did use a little bit of live action. Mm-hmm. It was like one of the best plot twists I've ever seen in a children's film.
Yeah.
Like, this is a family film.
It could have been a very sappy message altogether of just, learn to embrace your child.
Don't lose your imagination even when you grow up.
Yeah, but it was handled very, very well. I think a large part of it not just had to do with the way the movie was told, but right down to when Will Ferrell said the line, if the hero could speak to Lord Business, what would he say? It's like, you nailed it. You nailed it. That's exactly how it should go.
Definitely. That just... Everything that stemmed from that stylistic way of telling the story, it's like the ending helps set up the entire film. Mm-hmm. And, that's how films should be. But not everybody writes for that.
Michael Bay, cough, cough.
Yeah, and, they could very easily have turned this into, let's sell a whole bunch of Legos, let's do this, and let's show this set, and let's show this set. Mm-hmm. They kind of did that a little bit as they were traveling through the different lands.
Yeah.
But you didn't feel like this wasn't a blatant grab at your wallet.
No.
It
could have been very commercial, but it wasn't.
It was a very subtle grab at your wallet. You can't say that it wasn't a grab at your wallet at all, but you know that they had to travel through the different worlds for a reason. Yeah. This was for a story reason. This wasn't, let's show off this Chima set here, complete with these new figures, and buy this and buy that.
Yeah, because otherwise they would have actually explicitly said it or something. But I think it was more along the lines of, more like Wreck-It Ralph. I think one of the biggest complaints people had about this movie was that, there should have been a whole montage of Wreck-It Ralph going to this world and this world and this world before going to Sugar Rush. But, you know what? It still worked. And in this movie, it put it to its best possible use. It didn't over-glamorize it. It just brought it to the forefront and made it part of the story.
Yeah. Because it didn't serve the purpose of lining the advertisers' pockets.
Exactly.
Oh, and there was no other product placement other than that, and maybe Crazy Glue and Duplo. Overall, this was really this was an unexpectedly fantastic film.
Yeah.
And I know Legoland's doing some stuff now with Lego Movie,
and now they're working on a sequel, so let's cross our fingers and hope this turns out well.
Oh, definitely. I don't know if they're going to be able to top what they did here, but, bring back some of the same characters, some of the same stuff. Let's see what they can do. I'm actually looking forward to seeing the sequel to this film.
I just hope the executives give these guys a little bit more creative leeway in letting this happen.
And please don't let this turn into another bid to sell Lego sets. Don't pull a Michael Bay.
Oh, and also there's the possibility, I know this was a Warner Brothers movie, and they had DC superheroes, but this could be the one way we could actually see Marvel and DC superheroes going after each other.
Holy smokes, if they do that, ooh.
Because that's the cool thing about Legos overall. They have their hands in every franchise's pockets, from Harry Potter to Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles to DC, Marvel, Pirates of the Caribbean, Star Wars, and if they could just put that all in this movie, I think that was one of the big appeals of it. This could easily outsell just about anything in a given year.
Yeah. So, I don't know, I think they're aiming for 2016 to release the sequel. Mm-hmm. So, let's just hope in a couple years we'll have good things to say about it, too.
Yeah, hope
so. Overall, the Lego Movie, hilarious, fantastic. 4 out of 5 from me.
I give it a 4.5 out of 5 myself.
Yep, okay. So, for the Lego Movie overall, that's a 4 out of 5 from SurferClock and a 4.5 out of 5 from TAP-G. We hope you guys have enjoyed this theme park reel view. If you have any other suggestions for theme park reel views we should do, make sure they are related to the parks. Put them in the comments below. And if you have thoughts about the Lego Movie, put them in the comments below. We look forward to reading, and we do read every single comment you guys put. So, go ahead, comment like crazy. Go have fun. So, we're going to sign off. This is SurferClock.
And I'm TAP-G.
And thanks for listening to our theme park reel view of Lego Movie for What's the Attraction?
Where our work is your vacation.